presentation. This presentation will be recorded and later uploaded into our IR website so that you all can refer it back. At the beginning, I'll place everyone on mute, and the individual CEOs will unmute themselves and take you through the presentation. And at the end of the presentation, we'll open up the floor for Q&A via the chat app, where I will moderate the questions towards the respective CEOs. Without further ado, I would like to introduce my team from this end. So they're all joining in from different locations. So please bear with us any technical issues. First of all, I would like to introduce Mr. Vish Govindasamy, our Group Managing Director, Mr. Sham Satasivam, Managing Director for Sunshine Consumer and Sunshine Healthcare, Mr. Aruna Deeptikumar, Group CFO, Mr. Shanta Bandara, CEO of Sunshine Pharmaceuticals, Mr. T. Sandan, CEO of Sunshine Medical Devices, Mr. Imtiaz Ali, CEO of HealthGuard, Mr. Surit Pereira, CEO of Sunshine Consumer, Mr. Binesh Panangwala, CEO of Waterwala Plantations, and Mr. Arushan Serasinghe, CEO of Renewable Energy Sector. So without further ado, I would like to hand it over to Vish to take the presentation forward.
Thanks, Hiran, and ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon, and thank you very much for joining this afternoon's webinar on the fourth quarter earnings of Sunshine Holdings. I'm sure you have all the details from our announcement to the stock exchange, but to give you more details, I would stick to our recent corporate announcements. You all are aware we divested our hydropower business, where we had a 61% stake, that is Sunshine Holdings had a 61% stake in Waltrim Energy, which we sold out to Aitkinson's PLC, the 3 plants, which consisted of a total 6.6 megawatts. And it was valued at 900 million Sri Lankan rupees. Of course, then you knew we subdivided our shares, 1:3 shares. Then of the very recent, we announced a $2 million equity that we raised for our Waterwala dairy business from SBI of Japan. In return, they got 11% of equity in the Waterwala Dairy Limited. This $2 million will mainly go into expanding the current farm in both in the increasing of the animals and of increasing the total space required to house them and additional equipment. And finally, with the announcement of our annual accounts, we announced a final dividend of 50 cents per share. That is post our split of 1:3. The dividend date would be 28th of June, and the payment will be 15th of July. You're also aware that we paid an interim dividend of 33 cents in back.
Vish, sorry, I think you're on mute.
Did you hear anything or just the last part?
The last part, Vish.
Okay, sorry, somebody got me on mute. So the dividend of 50 cents per share post-split, we also paid an interim dividend of 33 cents per share in March 2021. So those are the most important corporate announcements. I will now hand over to Aruna Deeptikumar, who will take you through the group at a glance with the fourth quarter results. Thank you.
Thank you, Vish. Good afternoon, everyone. Let me take you through the overview of Sunshine Group financials and some of the key highlights during the year. And happy to announce that it was a great financial year for Sunshine in terms of group performance and also the completion of the key strategic initiatives executed during the challenging year for all of us. So some of the key highlights before moving on to the financials, Sunshine Consumer acquired Dainty Confectionery business and also merged with Akbar Pharmaceutical business. So Akbar 2 months and Dainty 7 months results are included in the group consolidation. And also there is a GP margin improvement in the group level, which was mainly contributed by the agribusiness. And as you all know, that the market interest rate was one of the lowest in the history of Sri Lanka. So overall, finance cost was dropped against the last year, which was reflected in the financials as well. In addition, overall cost structure was stable during the year compared to the last year. And also tax rate were incorporated because, as you all know, that the tax in the government budget proposal, the tax rate came down to different business segments. So we have incorporated those changes in the Q4, and the effective tax rate dropped from 28% to 23% at group level. And also the group has divested the hydropower segment on 7th April, and those assets were classified as asset held for sale in the financial statement of financial position. So moving on to the numbers, quarterly numbers, first of all, group recorded 6.9 billion top line, which is a significant growth of 37% quarter on quarter. You can see a significant growth in profit after tax in Q4 against the same quarter last year, which is over 300%. The mainly due to tax revision adjustment that we have incorporated in the Q4, and also drop in the net finance cost also captured in Q4. Moving on to the yearly full year numbers. Revenue grew by 16.6% year on year and recorded a 24.3 billion revenue, and profit after tax 38% year on year growth and recorded a 2.5 billion. So EPS, earning per share, improved along with the PATMI and profit attributable to the shareholders of Sunshine Holdings, and captured the ordinary share split also in the earning per share calculation. So thank you, and then I'll hand over Shanta. He will take us through the Sunshine Pharmaceutical performance. Shanta.
Thank you, Aruna. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to first take you through the our pharma operation, how we have fared in the last few quarters. In fact, Q4 that which we are discussing was an excellent quarter for us. And as well as you may see that the last 6 quarters, we have been gaining our market share in the private market. Mainly, this was possible by extremely well performance by some of our principal agency products, especially products in lipid lowering and blood pressure lowering, and also some products, especially in we have performed well in the thyroxine area, and also our vitamin C in the last quarter was performing very well. So with those, some of these mainly chronic segments doing well, we were able to gain the market share in the last quarter as well as in the previous quarters. Moving on to the next slide from the market performance. as you all know, we merged with Agba Pharmaceuticals in the first first month of the year. In January, with Agba Pharmaceuticals, pharma manufacturing was also been merged with our business. And here you see the Lina Spiro factory opening. Lina Spiro is especially the Sri Lanka's #1 meter dose inhaler manufacturing plant. It has a capacity of manufacturing over 2 million units a year. And right now we are awaiting NMRA approval for commercial production. And other than Lina manufacturing, Lina Spiro, the Lina manufacturing was the other plant that we merged. Lina manufacturing actually marked almost 10 years in operation. They have the capsule lines, that is dry powder inhalers. They can manufacture nearly about 250 million units a year. And also they have a tablet line, which has a capacity of manufacturing 400 million tablets a year. And also nasal sprays, that's about 600,000 nasal sprays a year. So they are in operation right now, and the main two lines of business right now, which Lina manufacturing is focusing on, is the government buyback contracts, which the plant manufactures all of these products for government supply, as well as right now we are doing brand development for our dry powder inhaler capsules, which is being done right along and developing those brands for Lina manufacturing. And our future plans are to expand in terms of contract manufacturing. To present the next slide, let me hand over to Infias.
Thank you, Shanta. Let me take you through HealthGuard's performance for the year. So for HealthGuard, it was primarily a pivoting year, and we focused our initiatives in taking our business omni-channel, going the omni-channel direction. So in this respect, we actually rationalized and closed down some of our express outlets that were operating within Keels, and focused most of our efforts on scaling our digital presence and improving our omni-channel experience. In this regard, our primary focus was to deliver the same kind of service in the omni and online channels that you would expect from a brick and mortar HealthGuard store. So most of our efforts was in improving our delivery fulfillment to our customers, improving our presence in online, expanding our digital platforms across multiple channels by partnering with customers such as Uber, PickMe, etc., and further improving our HealthGuard's own online platform, www.healthguard.lk, so that we could offer the same service that we offer in our brick and mortar outlets. We also saw this as a potential for improving HealthGuard's existing reach in all of its neighborhoods. We see that through omnichannel, that HealthGuard is able to go beyond its current neighborhood footprint and expand its reach of customers. So this is going to be our area of focus, and we see that this has led to a significant scaling of the online business, almost 70x scaling of online revenue from the previous year. With that, I will hand it over to Sayandan to talk a little bit about the healthcare performance as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you, Infi. Ladies and gentlemen, as you know, 2021, the year that ended, was a very challenging year. But as you can see from the screen, the results for Sunshine Healthcare had been exceptional. Why I call it a challenging year, if I can just give one indicator, the hospital occupancy for the whole year, it went never above 65%. If I take you through the Q1, occupancy came to 39%, which was the curfew month or the curfew quarter. Second quarter, things looked improved, where the occupancy went to 64%. But Q3, once again, we faced challenges where the lockdown was imposed and it came down to 55. And Q4, once again, the occupancy was 65. So during this challenging year, the healthcare team was very much resilient. And in Q4, the pharmaceutical and the medical devices business achieved the highest ever revenue. As you can see from here, in Q4, we achieved 3.6 billion sales, which was a 24% increase, which paved the way for the healthcare sector to end the year at 12.7 billion. And we increased our awareness on wellness as well as on healthcare products. And as you are aware, the dollar shot up in the Q4, where it had a lot of impact on our margin. But still, we ended up doing 273 million of EBIT and the annual figure crossing the 1 billion mark, ending at 1.1 billion. And this allowed us to do 231 million profit after tax for the quarter. And the annual figure, we ended up at 824 million. I would like to conclude by saying this particular quarter, we also added the revenue of 260 million from Akbar Pharma in Q4. So with this performance of healthcare, let me hand over to my colleague, Surit Pereira, who will take you through the Sunshine Consumer. Over to you, Surit.
Thank you, Sayandan. So to cover the Sunshine Consumer business, Q4 for Sunshine Consumer has been an excellent quarter. I mean, the growth, leaving aside the growth, the achievement of 1.5 billion in a quarter is the highest that we have achieved. The growth rate is high, mainly because it was in last March, around the 16th, that the lockdowns happened for COVID, and March is one of our biggest months, and that explains the growth. Also, the volumes and values have been at a much higher level this year. This is due to the fact that, of course, also there was a big push from our side. Also, the market, according to LMRB, has increased by about 12% over the year. That is to do with hot beverages being popularized and being taken as good in this environment. If you go to the next slide, Hira. Yeah. Looking at confectionery, here you see that after first quarter, which was rather low, we have in the following consequent quarters, we have done extremely well to end the year at 19.5% and the quarter at a 21% growth. So the confectionery business, when we took on the business, most of it was a manually run business, and we have done extensive work with technology. We have rolled out the Salesforce automation system to all areas. We have refurbished offices to make work more pleasant to the employees. We have increased productivity, line efficiency to increase production at Dainty, and also done a lot of work in improving processes. So all this have contributed to the confectionery business doing well in the last year. Yeah. So if you look at the new product launches, the innovations that have happened, wellness teas and health and wellness has become a major trend in the market. And we have launched a mass Vatavala Ayurte, which is a mass herbal tea brand. And that has just been launched. So it's early to comment on offtake, but we have received very good feedback on the product and also on the advertising. Sessa Wellness range with different variants for the different detox, sleep, refresh, fat burn, and immune also has been launched. It took some time to get into modern trade because modern trade outlets were not listing SKUs. We got into Keels and Spa, however, only now that we are getting into Cargill's. When looking at D&T, again, we have done some innovations. The Eclairs range is their #2 brand. And here we have launched 3 new variants, and those are getting into outlets. So overall, in innovation also, fourth quarter has been a good quarter. And looking at the financials for quarter 4, you see revenue is a significant increase. That is with both confectionery and tea doing very well in quarter 4 versus last year quarter 4, which was also impacted by COVID. PAT, again, a similar story. So even for the year, the growth rates are good. This is also with the numbers from D&T being there for 7 months. In terms of market share, we lead in both categories. In tea with 37.2% market share, and in toffees and sweets segment with 32% market share. And in D&T, there has been 47 million added to the PAT, contributing to the good PAT in quarter 4. With that, I'll hand you over to Binesh.
Thank you, Surit. I will take you through the Waterwala plantation and Waterwala dairy businesses. I'll start with the palm oil or the Waterwala plantation business. We are seeing a significant increase in prices during the year, almost about 63% from last year. This is mainly because of the reason is that the shortfall in crop that what have been realized around the world. So similarly, in the Sri Lankan context as well, especially the third quarter and the fourth quarter, we saw a dip in crop, and hence there was a shortfall in crop, the production of oil, which you can see the price movement in the world market price. I'll move on to the next slide. I'll move on to the financial year, the performance. Basically, the quarter had been quite a good quarter with a growth of 30.1%. End up with 962 million for the fourth quarter. Similarly, the EBIT and also the PAT from last year, mainly though it was 40 million, it improved to 400 million, which at a PAT margin of 41.6 million. So the Q4 in general, due to the prices, the performance was quite good. However, there was a drop in production during the Q4, which we have seen it in palm oil. Every 5th year there is a crop drop, which was evident in the last quarter. Moving on to the financial year, ended up with 2.5% above the 2020 on a EBIT margin of 46.2%, and ever highest profit of 1.6 billion PAT at a PAT margin of 42.3%. So as I mentioned before, the revenue increased by 30%. As I mentioned, mainly because the increase in the prices. And I must mention on the Waterwala dairy, even we have seen a significant increase in price comparing to the previous year, mainly because of the demand that it has in the country for milk. It has been almost the demand has grown up by twofold, whereas the production has not increased significantly from what it was. With regards to some of the decisions which were had come up was the restriction of palm oil cultivation. So that had been debated in the currently. So there had not been new planting during the quarter. Then also that we have seen the ban on chemical fertilizer. But to say like Waterwala plantation is well set in terms of the production of compost, our own compost, which is coming from a larger volume of herd what we have in our farm, what are the dairy, which we are turning into compost. So that's we are sitting quite well when compared to the others. Then also the good news is that the dairy farm reported a PAT of 73.5 million. This is the first year that we're making PAT profit. And this has been mainly due to the curtailment of the cost and also the increase in milk production. Mainly, I would say that it's mainly because of the cost control. Apart from that, in the dairy, you'd have seen we have gone into delivery of fresh milk, which we do home delivery, and also that we have gone into modern trade. Few channels that we are going through and which is catching up quite well, mainly due to the quality which it carries. This milk, our promise is to deliver to the home delivery within 24 hours from receiving from the farm. So that's it from the agri. And now I would like to hand over to Aroshan to take you through energy.
Thank you, Binesh. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Energy for fourth quarter was quite good, as you can see. 59% growth compared to FY20. Of course, the impairment transaction has adversely affected the bottom line. But if I were to kind of move out, take out that impairment and just look at the business operations for fourth quarter, it was very positive. We made a 1 million profit compared to anticipated loss as well. And if you look at the year-to-date performance, it has been a 41% growth over FY20 and a profit of 108 million, but it got adversely affected by the 143 million impairment transaction on the hydro. Just to give you a snapshot of the business moving forward, so we are refocusing on solar, expanding on the solar side. We have ongoing projects close to 500 kilowatts at different stages of completion. The present environment actually hasn't helped all that much, especially getting on top of non-captive business roofs. In addition to the ongoing projects of 500 kilowatts, we also have a few LOAs which have signed up, close to 1 megawatt, and another set of projects which are at feasibility stages, coming close to 1.5 megawatts. So that's a snapshot of the ongoing projects outlook. Now I would like to hand it back to Hiran for the Q&A session. Thank you.
Thank you, Aroshan. Thank you everybody for taking time to take everybody through the results. I think now we can open up for Q&A. Either you can unmute yourself and ask the questions via the platform, or you can send the questions via the chat function. Please make note that if you're send it to everyone so that the panelists also can review the questions before answering. Thank you. We have one question from Ruchi. Can you give an update on the ban on palm oil cultivation and the potential impact on sun? I think, Vish, if you can take this.
Yeah, what's the question again? I missed it. Can you say that again, please?
Can you give an update on the ban on palm oil cultivation and the potential impact on sun?
Okay. Thanks, Hiran, and thanks for the question. Currently, as we know, there is a gazette that has been announced by the government of Sri Lanka, announcing that there will be no new planting of palm oil. So that's the gazette that's out there. As for whatever plantations, we have approximately 3,000 hectares, and every 25 years we have to replant these palms. So till about 2027, we don't have any scheduled replanting asset right now. So that's the impact that I can tell you right now. So we don't have immediate need to replant, but as an association, Palm Oil Association of Sri Lanka, which is part of the Chamber of Commerce, we are working and lobbying with the government to take a different stand than the stand that has been taken. So that's the current status.
Thanks, Vish. I think Shalini also has asked the same question and also additional questions on agribusiness. Can you shed some color on the impact of the wage increases on the plantation sector?
Yeah, so maybe my colleague Binesh would be able to give you more on the wage increase, but I will attempt a shot at it. So the wage, again, usually is negotiated between the unions and the plantations and agreed as a collective agreement after collective bargaining. But this time, because there was no agreement between the unions and the companies, the government took it upon themselves to ask the wages board to sit and decide on the wage. So the wages board decided a wage of 900 rupee wage and 100 rupee budgetary allowance, which comes to 1,000 rupees. And the companies objected to the wages board, and the wages board did not agree to the objection. So that's where the wages are. But now the companies have gone to court, saying that the wages board decision is arbitrary, and right now the decision is at court, but the companies are obeying by the wages board ordinance because it's law.
Thanks, Vish. I hope that clarifies Shalini's question. Moving on to a question from Angelica. On the energy sector, as a group, what's your strategy going forward for the power sector? Will there be significant Capex plan for the sector? And what's the rationale for the sale of the plants? Sham or Vish, do you want to take that?
I can take that, Hiran. Again, good evening, everyone. Broadly for us, as we reviewed our sectors, we saw scale opportunities in healthcare and in consumer, whereas in the power sector, when we looked at sort of opportunities, we were challenged with opportunities in increasing scale in the power sector, given all issues with ground mounted, etc. So therefore, we looked at, in terms of best use of capital, we saw in the hydro sector, there was limited space for us to grow anymore. And so we took an opportunity to exit the mini hydro space. Whereas in terms of the rooftop solar, we're continuing to evaluate it. As my colleague Aroshan said, there are a few projects in line, but we are evaluating in terms of what the opportunities will be to see what policies, etc. are. So it's still under review. You're on mute, Hiran.
Sorry, guys. There's a follow-up question from Angelica. Given the uncertainties in the agri sector and the currency impact in healthcare, are you looking at new areas to diversify into?
No, I think in terms of where the group has taken steps in the last year has been in terms of doubling down on healthcare, but spreading across to go beyond the import and distribution into manufacturing. So that's the primary rationale for our merger with Aqua Healthcare, as well as continue to invest in our retail. So while there is currency impact, and there are other questions on the currency impact, we've been able to mitigate some of that currency impact because prices are variable on the non-controlled. So there's an element that is price guessed that is controlled, and we are lobbying with the government for increases there. But we did take some price increases when the currency, jumped to 200 on the rest of the portfolio. Overall, healthcare has been an imported product, for the last so many years. So especially in our surgicals, devices, etc., we're able to slowly pass on. I mean, sharp jumps in currency are a challenge, but slowly pass on cost there. So given those contexts, I think we see ourselves as continuing to invest in consumer and healthcare and not necessarily, go beyond these sectors in the near future.
Thanks, Shyam. I think moving on to Ishani's question, I think part 2 was answered by Shyam already. The part 1 is what is the current production capacity of the dairy as a percentage? Dinesh, if you can take that.
Yeah, thank you for that question. I think the current capacity we do around, in the latest content, about 18,000, which is about 2% of the national production. So these are production by Watala Dairy.
Okay. I think another one for you, Dinesh, from Yumal. Are you able to increase the palm oil price given the demand shortages?
Yeah, it has been, the palm oil price have been on the increase, mainly because the world market price have been going up. And also that special commodity levy, which is for importation of palm oil, also have been static for about 8 months. So as a result, that we are seeing the prices going up in the local market.
Okay, thanks, and also another follow-up on the palm oil issue. From Sanjay, government has asked to replace 10% of the palm trees with other crops. Is there any comment? I think Vish explained this in his initial comments. Dinesh, if there's anything to add.
Yeah, as per the Gazette notification, what was explained, that it says 10%, but still we are not really sure about it. And for whatever, we don't see any uprooting till 2027, 2028, since we have very young palms, which is almost about 50% of our palm population is younger palm. So there is no reason to uproot it, but we'll have to wait and see what government will bring in the future.
Thanks, Dinesh. Moving on to another question from Rushir. What is the expectation for healthcare and consumer sector revenue growth given the wave of COVID cases? I think first one, if Shanta can take it, and the consumer, Surit maybe taking. Shanta?
Sorry, Hiran, can you rephrase the question again?
Yeah. So what is the expectation for the healthcare revenue growth given the new wave of COVID cases? I think one question is like, have you been impacted in Q1?
Okay, got it. Thanks. Actually, Q4, as I was just alluding to it earlier during my presentation, we have been continuously improving our market share. Given that we are representing quite a good chunk of our product portfolio from the chronic segment. As all of us know, the chronic segment keeps growing, especially in cardio-diabetic and other blood pressure areas. So the solutions that we have, or rather the medicine that we import, are in those areas. So therefore, in fact, we have seen a shift in the patients trying to comply with their full dosage. So earlier, if they were missing some amount of dosage, now due to the conditions, even diabetic patients or cardio problematic patients, they would try to actually comply with full prescription. So we have seen compliance in terms of insulin, in terms of diabetic other products, and also there's quite a big usage of vitamins, especially vitamin C has been in usage, and we saw thyroxine usage also have been picked up. So therefore certain segments in the market that we have been seeing that's going up. However, as Sandan was mentioning, there have been a challenge in terms of hospital products where their hospital occupancy have gone down, and it's mostly the COVID patients have been now been treated in most of the hospitals. So largely pharma and the related products, we don't see impact due to the pandemic conditions.
Shanta, while you're here, I think I would like to jump to another question on healthcare by Isha. Can you share the volume impact on the overall pharma growth?
Yeah, actually, so overall pharma growth have been quite, I would say, fair in terms of the reasons which I just spoke about. So therefore, it has been positive for us. While the market was, overall market was growing at about 5.4%, we have grown as per IQVIA, we have been growing at around 17%. So the even the secondary sales that in our financials, we have been growing overall at about 14.5%. Therefore, the overall growth is largely, since we have not got a major price increase per se, the overall growth is been actually supported by volume growth. So out of that 14 plus, nearly 11 plus have been supported by volume growth. And the rest of it is largely coming from new products. So that is some area of importance for us. We have been continuously working on new products. So there are about 10% of the revenue coming through new product in the last financial year, which supported our revenues. So overall, I would say 11.5% of volume growth have been supported for the overall growth.
Thanks, Shant, for providing that color. I think let's move on to Surit. I think same question from Ruchi. What are the expectations for 1Q given the third wave of COVID? Surit?
Yeah, so the biggest challenge is the accessibility to outlets. We have had very good sales to modern trade. However, in the general trade, the accessibility to smaller outlets have been an issue, especially in areas that had lockdown at the start. Currently, it is a challenge for definitely for all companies. However, being market leaders in tea and also tea being a necessity, we don't expect a big challenges. Even this year, this month, we are achieving the targets for tea. However, in confectionery, there has been some impact this month because again, the accessibility rather than demand, I would say. However, you would have seen in my slide, even last year in Q1, the growth was down. However, the growth picked up big time in the second quarter. So we believe that when things are better, the demand will be there, and we will be able to stack the outlets appropriately. So we don't expect a big revenue impact, and we are very confident of our revenue targets in the coming year.
Thanks, Surit. I think the next one is also for you. This one is from Rafi. Could you please elaborate on the capacity utilization in the confectionery business, and does management expect any capacity additions in the future?
Yeah, so the capacity utilization is, it differs from line to line. So where we have seen challenges in capacity utilization, and we in the sense of capacity being we need more capacity. We have invested in Capex, and we are progressing. So we don't see a big issue in terms of production capacity to meet our sales, because even currently we have good stocking of items, and we don't see any challenges. Of course, we have ordered some machinery to improve the quality of products, and those will be coming in soon. So that is the answer to that.
Thanks, Surit, for that description of the status of the confection business. I think that's one for Binesh. Shalini is asking, what was the reason for the dairy performance to go down in Q4 despite overall profit growth? Binesh, can you give some color on the Q4 performance of dairy?
Yeah, so the dairy is mainly what you can see, the prices have been going up, and we have contracted at a higher price during the Q4. However, the major part of the cost is coming from the feed cost. As you know, there have been certain restrictions in importation of the main ingredient which goes into the feed, which is maize or corn. Unfortunately, there have been certain bans. As a result, the cost of the main feed ingredient has gone up, has resulted in higher costs during the Q4. So apart from that, there have been some instances where the procurement of this maize had been quite a challenge during the Q4, mainly due to non-availability of maize, and the growth have been less. Then apart from the other pest and disease issues which have been revolve around the maize, which is mainly because of fall armyworm issue and things like that. So there have been mainly because of short supply of maize, resulting in high cost in the main ingredients of the feed. So that's the reason for it to be lower in the Q4.
Thanks, Vinesh, for that detailed description of the dairy business in Q4. Are there any other questions you would like us to answer?
They were here. Hi, wish Binesh and Shyam, and congratulations on excellent performance amidst all tough outlook over there. So just to find out on the farm in the dairy sector, there's a investment by SB. Is that like was 11% contribution to the capital? Is that going to be like the start of it, and will they continue that kind of relationship to build whatever dairy farming business, and are you hoping to grow that much more? Because the equity stake was only 11%.
Yeah, so I'll take that question, Hiran. So Deva, thanks for your good wishes. I think what we currently need is around $2 million. So that is the investment that we went seeking for, which will take us to the next level where we can get to 1,000 milking cows. We are about 750 milking cows, and we want to get to about 1,000 milking cows, which will get us to about 25,000 liters per day, which requires to bring in a new herd, and also which requires new infrastructure. So that's what we need now. As you are aware, SBI has been a long-term investor in the Sunshine Holding Group. They have held a reasonable stake in Sunshine Holding. So obviously, whatever we are doing it right, and we appreciate what we have done. So I can't comment whether they will continue to invest in the future, etc. But our intention is to grow the dairy business. I hope I'm giving you a reasonable answer.
Yes, thanks, Vish. And any chance of that you think you could carve out it as a separate entity and perhaps like Lanka Milk Foods or anything like listed separately based on the growth, of course, as the time goes on. I'm sure you cannot comment right now, but do you see that as a growth company in your group?
No, certainly, Deva, we consider the dairy as a growth sector for us, right? Especially, Sri Lanka imports all the milk from overseas. So being government's wish is to become self-reliant in fresh milk. So it is with that intent that this business has been started. So we will grow it, whether we are going to list it, non-list it, whether it's going to be a separate business. I think it's way too early for me to comment on any of that. But be rest assured, it's a growth industry for us.
Thank you, Vish.
Thank you.
Shyam, on the pharma sector, is there any, are you looking at any going into the production side of the pharmaceutical business? Is that something currently being looked at?
Sure. So I think, thanks, Deva, for the question. I think so. We have, with the partnership with Akbar Pharma, now entered the space of manufacturing, and primarily Lena is a respiratory products manufacturer, both dry powder inhalers and the meter dose inhalers. So what we would be looking to do, of course, is to evaluate opportunities to expand beyond. Sri Lanka, again, is a primarily import market, and we are a large player in that space. But there is reasonable opportunity both for the government as well as a lot of private players as well to look for alternate manufacturing. We've seen disruptions in supply chain, etc., especially in the last 18 months. So people are considering options of local manufacturing. So we have invested in that space, and we see opportunity to grow there as well.
Thanks, Shyam. Any other questions?
Binesh, do you expect the palm oil prices that have kind of increased, which have helped grow the margins and the profitability, to continue into 2021 in the same manner, given the fact that, of course, these restrictions are going to be continued as well, like in most other sectors, like even the tile sector, there is import restrictions. Given that fact, the same kind of growth will continue, or will it taper off?
Thank you, Deva. I think when you really look at the price of the futures, we see there'll be a dip in as for the futures. So it'll taper it off. It'll come down, but it will not come down to the levels which were where the prices were maintained last year. It'll be above that. But however, that as per the normal situation, in the future months, the global market price will come down. But that would not have a huge impact on the Sri Lankan price. It'll remain as it is, since we have got into forward contracts, etc.
Thank you, Binesh.
So if there's no other questions, I think it's time for us to wrap up. On behalf of the Sunshine team, I would like to thank everybody who participated and engaged with us today. So hope to see you in the next quarter as well. Till then, goodbye and stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Ram.
Thank you very much, everybody. Appreciate your attending.